Hi, I'm going to show you how to create a torn edged border on a page layer in My Digital Studio. The first thing I'm going to do is create a new project from the File menu, and I'm going to select Multiple Output Options, 12 by 12 inch square, Create Your Own, and I'm going to name the file Torn Edges. And I want a blank page, so I'm just clicking OK here. I like to set the zoom when I'm working to 75% so that I can see the entire page in the window. Now I'm going to go to the resource palette and I'm going to click to access the background papers. I'm going to browse, and the papers I want to use are the Shades of Spring papers that are an additional digital download that you can buy to add to My Digital Studio. I really like the second pattern, which is green, celery green shade, so I'm going to double click and it adds it to my background. Well, no, it doesn't. It adds it as a page layer. Let's get rid of that. And let's unclick Add as Page Layer, make sure that's there, and then I'm going to double click on it to add it to my background. And that covers the entire background. Now I'm going to re-click this box that says Add as Page Layer, and I'm going to select pattern number 3. I'm simply going to drag it onto the page. You can either click or drag, either way, works fine. Now the mistake a lot of people made, and that I made when I first started using this, was to think that I should size this page layer by grabbing one of these little handles on the box and pulling to size it bigger. It gives you a warning: expanding to this size may cause it to pixelate when printed. But what really happens is it distorts the pattern. We don't want that. So let's undo that. Instead, I'm going to go over to the right to the Design Center, and you can see that since this page layer is selected, it comes up as a photo. That's how you treat a page layer in My Digital Studio. And you can do everything to it that you can do to a photo. So I'm going to crop this, and what this allows me to do is to select part of the paper that I want, the size and dimensions I want, and the part of the page that I want. And I want something that's fairly uniform in tone from top to bottom so that it blends with my torn edge. And I'm going to click OK. It never puts it in the middle, so I'm going to move it here. And I can use my arrow keys to tweak it so that it's exactly where I want it. Now I'm going to add my torn edges. I'm going to the resource palette and I'm going to click to access the stamps. I'm going to browse down and find the Torn Edges stamps that come with the My Digital Studio software. And I'm going to open them. The stamp I want is the first one, which is called Distressed. So I'm going to drag it onto my page. It's a very large stamp, larger than it needs to be. So I'm going to go ahead and size it down a little bit by dragging the corner. Now I want to rotate it 90 degrees to the left, so I'm going to the Design Center and I'm clicking on Rotate 90 degrees left. I'm going to move it over to my page, edge of my page layer, right there. And I'm going to go up to the Arrange menu, and I want to send this to the back. What this does is it makes it the very first layer on top of the background, behind the page layer I created. Now, when I first started trying to use this stamp, I tried to change the color by going here to where it says Change Color. But even though I might select Perfect Plum or Pale Plum, it wouldn't exactly match this paper because it has the shades, many different shades in between those two colors. Instead, what I'm going to do is Match Color, which is the eyedropper. When I hover my mouse over the paper on the left, you'll see all these pixels come up on the right. I need to select a pixel to be the color that I'm going to use for my stamp. And I want something that isn't really dark, but it isn't too light either. Something in the middle. It's just finding a way of getting exactly over the one you want. I'll try this one. That looks like the color I want. It blends nicely in with the other part of the paper. If I wanted to stop here, I could add a drop shadow, but I really want it to look like this is a torn piece of paper with a white core showing. So since I've still got this stamp selected, I'm going to copy it up here in the Edit menu and paste it. I'm going to grab that and I'm going to move it to the side so I can work on it. I'm going to change the color over here in the Design Center to white. And then I'm going to put the drop shadow in by clicking on drop shadow, and you can see the drop shadow is on the right side of the stamp. The last thing I'll do to this is I'm going to send it all the way to the back again. So that when I scooch it over, it goes behind the original torn edge. And I can use my arrow keys to position it so that it is slightly to the right and above the other torn edge. And it makes it look like the edge of a paper that actually has been torn. Now if I only wanted one torn edge, I could stop here, but I want two. I want to have the other edge torn as well. So I'm going to go back over on the resource palette and grab my torn edges stamp again, drag it over, size it down a little bit. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees to the right this time. I'm going to move it over here. I'm going to send it to the back. I'm going to match the color. That's perfect. And then I'm going to copy it again and paste. I'm going to grab that and move it over here where I can see it. Change the color to white. And again, I want to add a drop shadow. The difference this time is because the torn edge is on the left of this part, I want the drop shadow to be on the left as well. In MDS, all you have to do is grab the shadow on this little window and move it over to the left. Isn't that slick? You can put it exactly where you want it. Finally, I will again send this to the back. And I will carefully move it over here so that it lines up again with the stamp on top. I want it to be slightly up into the left of the first torn edge. That looks great. And that is how you create a torn edge to a page layer. If you look at it closely, you can see, this is zoomed to 300%, where the page layer ends and the stamp begins. But how many people are going to put their face that close to your scrapbook page? I don't think there are going to be many, and if they do, I'd smack them on the nose and tell them to get away from your scrapbook page. You're getting too close. And that's how you do it. For more ideas on how to use My Digital Studio or how to make cards and scrapbook pages the old-fashioned way, visit my blog at jantink.com. Thank you.